You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with the entrepreneur and PR consultant Leon Emirali and the journalist and author Christina Patterson. Welcome to you both. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. Well, the Times leads on Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood's comments that illegal immigration is ripping the country apart. The Mail on Sunday reports on the intensifying battle between the BBC and President Trump and fury in the White House over the broadcaster commissioning lectures from an author who was critical of the president. The Observer carries an in-depth analysis of the running of the BBC in recent months from the former Radio 4 Today editor, Kerry Thomas. The Sunday Mirror speaks to the former Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, who rails against what she calls arrogant tittle-tattle within the Labour Party. But the Sunday Telegraph's reporting will do little to quiet any gossip. The paper claims Miss Rayner is lining up her own leadership challenge against Sir Keir Starmer. The Sunday Express warns of what it calls a bloodbath on the high street if business owners aren't given tax relief in the upcoming budget. The Sun on Sunday reports on the love life of actor Sacha Baron Cohen. And the Star hears from model Kelly Brook ahead of her appearance on I'm a Celebrity. We are joined tonight by Leon Emirali and Christina Patterson. Welcome to you both. Let's start with the front page of the Times. And this quite chilling quote from the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. I can see, and I know my colleagues can, that illegal migration is tearing our country apart. It's our job as a Labour government to unite our country. And if we don't sort this out, I think our country becomes much more divided. Do you agree with that, Leon?
To some degree, yes. I think she is diagnosing an issue that a lot of people feel in communities up and down the country, that there is division in the country right now. I think it's quite strong rhetoric, I have to say, for the Home Secretary to be delivering. And, you know, this has been a long-trailed policy announcement that we are going to be seeing tomorrow, the plans to review asylum in this country. But I do think the rhetoric coming out of Shabana Mahmood is quite surprising, given she's a Labour MP, a Labour politician. I wonder how some of her colleagues will be reacting to that type of language. I mean, it sounds the type of language you'd be more likely to hear from a right-wing party. So I do question the judgment, perhaps, of how she can bring her colleagues on board. But I do think, politically, she is diagnosing an issue that does exist in the country around division.
But, of course, Labour are trying to bridge that gap between themselves and the right, so perhaps hence the sort of language. And when we see headlines like Home Secretary vows to end to golden ticket as she plans 20-year wait for permanent stay.
Well, it is, the 20 years is quite a shock because it's been trailed all week that she's been... Well, initially she was looking at policies in Denmark, and now that she's planning to adopt some of them, it's not absolutely clear which ones yet. But there, it's 8 years, so 20 years is quite a leap. I mean, I broadly support her in this, largely because if Labour doesn't address this, we will get a reform government. Whether people are right to be upset about it or not is a different matter. But the fact is that it's been pushed relentlessly by Nigel Farage in recent years, and he has managed to inflame so many tensions on this whole issue with the demonstrations outside hotels housing asylum seekers and so on, that it's become a real red-button issue. And I think, and, you know, Labour came to power with the promise to stop the boats, which it's not doing. And the only way to stop the boats is to stop the incentives. And at the moment, it's the pull factor. And at the moment, we are seen as the most attractive place in Europe for migrants to come to, whether they're seeking asylum or not. So broadly speaking, and I'm half Swedish, so I've kept a close eye on what's been happening in Sweden in the last few years, which has had enormous increases in migration. About a third of the population are now either born abroad or born to children born abroad. It's had a huge impact on Swedish society, on the social contract, and on levels of violence. Unfortunately, in Sweden now has the second highest gun crime in Europe, having had very low levels of crime before. So these are not, I mean, and obviously what's happening in Sweden is not happening here, but we've had very high profile cases recently of people accidentally released from prison who have been immigrants or illegal migrants who've been committed crimes or sexual assault or whatever. And it's created so much unease in the country that I do think she has to tackle this. And from a fairness point of view, the fact that the people who do manage to escape war or injustice, and there is an awful lot of it in the world, are nearly all young men helped by smugglers paying fees. It's not the women who come, it's not the children who come for the most part. I think people look at that and think that's unfair as well. So broadly, I support it, but we'd have to look at the detail. And she's going to get, as Leon says, massive pushback from Labour MPs who are going to think they sound like reform on this.
But from what you've heard so far, because we don't know exactly how much of the Danish model she's going to follow, do you believe that it will be a sufficient deterrent?
It sounds like it. I mean, it does sound as if this will reduce that pull factor. I actually think one of the more eye-catching parts of this story is at the end, where they talk about reforms to the European Convention on Human Rights, including reforming Article 8, which is the right to a family life. I mean, that is the type of thing that the Conservatives would have loved to have done in their time in government, but just didn't really have the political will or the political capital to do that. So the fact that that's coming from a Labour Home Secretary is remarkable. I do think this is positive, and Christina is right. You know, immigration, illegal immigration, is the hot issue that voters are going to judge this government on and opposition parties on. And if Labour can demonstrate that they've made progress on that, then perhaps it does become a straight shootout between Labour and Reform at the next election, and it does give them a chance. That said, it's going to be a difficult task. We've heard tough rhetoric from Home Secretaries in the past of different party affiliations, and that hasn't translated into action. But this does seem pretty substantial.
Let's stay with Labour, and we know there have been lots of stories regarding Labour and their internal politics. This time, Angela Rayner, and she's saying that they need to end their arrogant tittle-tattle. Front page of the Mirror.
Well, where does one start on this absolute fiasco? I was going to use a different word, but I'll be relatively polite and say fiasco. It's been a terrible week for Labour. Terrible, terrible, terrible week for Labour. Terrible week for Keir Starmer. Terrible week for Rachel Reeves, which we'll get onto in a moment. I can see why Angela Rayner is, wanting to unite, end arrogant tittle-tattle. Obviously, that is the last thing she's actually planning to do. She's not planning to unite Labour, is she? She's not saying, I completely support Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are doing a marvellous job. She's saying, essentially, the exact opposite. Of course, the left, she's a really impressive politician in so many ways. I have huge respect for her. But she did make a very serious mistake over stamp duty, and what the country remembers of that is that she's not paying her tax. Now, people on the left of the Labour Party will think, oh, Angela Rayner's great, she can save us. I think Angela Rayner is great in all kinds of ways. Can she save them? No, she can't. Is she going to be the one who can negotiate with Donald Trump, etc., in the nightmare that we're facing on various fronts with Donald Trump? Probably not. So I honestly think they should all just calm down, get through next May election and stop the infighting.
Calm down, dear.
I do. I think calm down, all of you. Get a grip. As David Lammy said disastrously in the House of Commons the other day.
We've got the Mirror front page saying that, she's vowing to fight for her constituents as a backbench MP and stop the tittle-tattle. Meanwhile, on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, we read that she's actually on manoeuvres, according to the Telegraph. Yeah,
if you put two and two together, it sort of adds up, doesn't it? Because she's talking to the Mirror exclusively, which is obviously a Labour-supporting paper. Angela Rayner, does she want to be Prime Minister? I think the answer to that is probably yes. Would she be a good Prime Minister? Jury's out. I think she's looking at this and thinking, well, if Wes Streeting is on manoeuvres, which we are led to believe he is or was.
He denied
Which he denied strenuously.
And the Prime Minister apologised to him as well.
But again, someone who might want to be Prime Minister is Wes Streeting. Rayner's looking at it thinking, Andy Burnham is not in Parliament, so his route is shut. Wes Streeting is bloodied after what happened last week with the briefing.
I don't think so. No, I think his position is enhanced.
I think to some degree. I think there are a lot of Labour MPs who share the view of this is not helpful to the Labour government to be plotting right now. And Rayner's thinking, well, if there is going to be a move after May, after the budget, now's her time. And the key thing with Rayner is the unions would back her over Streeting and over any other real pretenders. So she's in a good position. I think it would be foolish for Labour to make any moves at this point.
Totally.
I don't think Starmer is going to be the one who leads them into the next election, having said that. But I think right now would be a very foolish time for any moves to happen. But I imagine Rayner is planning that it will be, Wes Streeting is gathering his team, so she needs to start doing the same.
Interesting in the thought that you believe that Wes Streeting has been damaged by this past week's events.
I think people are looking at it and just thinking, this is not healthy. And if you look at what happened under the Conservatives, why did the Conservatives lose that last election so comprehensively? In part down to the instability of chopping and changing leader every 5 minutes. And I think a lot of Labour MPs and supporters that I've spoken to have felt that the last few weeks have been very unhelpful. And it may have been orchestrated by number 10, of course, which is highly plausible. But Wes Streeting is the name that's being positioned. And although he had a good media round, I think there's a lot of fatigue amongst Labour MPs for this kind of tittle-tattle.
Christina, do you agree? Because Wes Streeting, he's not technically guilty of anything.
No, I don't think I do. But I haven't been speaking to Labour MPs about this. I didn't take that view, and I don't really take that view. My view is that he's emerged more strongly because he's seen as on the right of the party. And, we hear that Morgan McSweeney had him lined up as an alternative to Keir Starmer to lead his kind of centrist right Labour version of Labour. And, of course, Wes Streeting, who's a brilliant media operating, has managed to sort of ally himself with the left of the party this week in relation to Lucy Powell and all kinds of people. Lucy Powell, everybody's declaring undying loyalty to the party while doing their absolute best to blow it up on every front. And they're doing a fantastic job of blowing it up, because even I, who support Labour and want them to succeed, are absolutely at my wits' end. And I feel like chucking them all into the ocean for the moment and just,
Now.
Well, that would be nice.
Extreme.
A bit of peace would be nice. A kind of not leaking about the budget every 2 minutes would be nice. The whole thing would be nice. But anyway, it's a tough job. I have huge sympathy for them. But I think if they could put their, enormous egos just in the back burner for a while, there's a little mixed metaphor for you, then that would be helpful for all of us.
Staying with Labour and the upcoming budget, which has been so heavily briefed about for so long. November the 26th, it's taken so long to get to this date. But we're nearly there, The Sunday Express, their headline, bloodbath on High Street if Labour piles on the tax. And this is their business. The British Beer and Pubs Association is braced for a surge in costs it calculates could force more than 2,000 pubs to close, with the loss of more than 12,000 jobs.
Yeah, every trade association are going to be doing their bit to try and protect their industry, and that's their prerogative. It is going to be a difficult budget, let's face it. It's going to be a very tough budget, and I think that's part of the reason why it's been briefed so heavily for so long, is that they're trying to prepare the public, businesses, the markets, that it is going to be difficult. Taxes are going to rise, aren't they? That is the headline of this budget. It just depends on who. Is it going to be individuals? Now it looks like it isn't, after they ruled out rises with income tax, after initially suggesting they might do that. So businesses is then the logical next step to look at, who already were hit with national insurance costs rises in the previous budget. So I think this is difficult. It's a difficult outlook for business, and I do wonder if Rachel Reeves is going to have to perhaps try and bring on board, a different tact. Lots on the left of the party will want to see a wealth tax.
Yeah, well, they're talking about that.
And they're talking about that. That might be an alternative to raising taxes elsewhere. But, the usual sort of suspects of pubs and restaurants and shops, they are going to be on the front line and bearing the brunt, and it does look like it's going to be difficult. And
we've also heard tell of the mansion tax, haven't we?
Well, exactly. I love the idea that it's a kind of mansion tax, meaning the super wealthy. I'm now living in a house for the first time in my adult life. I never thought I would live in a house in London. I sold my flat, my partner sold his house. We got a place together, and it will probably push us into some kind of mansion tax, which in terms of our income is utterly ridiculous. And having paid vast amounts, I'm not expecting expecting the nation to bring out its tiny violins. I am obviously extremely lucky to be living in a house anywhere, let alone in London. However, we made that decision, paid vast amounts of stamp duty, invested our assets in it. And if I now have to pay, like, 3 times the amount of council tax plus interest, which I wouldn't be able to afford from my income, I would be absolutely furious. And I have to say, I think this budget has been a total disgrace. The chopping and changing every 5 minutes, putting it off till the end of November. Everybody is in a nervous state now. Businesses, individuals, I think if they were going to do the 2p on income tax, go for it, do it. Don't change your mind every 5 minutes. I'm absolutely incandescent, and as I said, I support Labour.
And they've already taken the reputational hit on the income tax, which is why I was surprised that then you turned on it. But
yeah, well, what the Chancellor would say, if circumstances change, then you change your mind.
Come on.
You're not buying it.
No.
And this is a Labour supporter. OK, Christine and Liam, thank you very much for the moment. We are going to take a break. Coming up, could the BBC really be forced to pay billions to Donald Trump? We'll discuss that and the corporation's other internal struggles next.
Sky News has been given exclusive data showing every Palestinian who has been killed in Gaza since the war began. Our analysis of this pattern in the killings suggests that entire families were wiped out in their homes or shelters. The data and forensics team is a multi-skilled unit dedicated to providing transparent journalism from Sky News. We located footage of the airdrop to a tent camp in central Gaza.
These airdrops are falling in extremely populated areas.
We combine traditional reporting with advanced analysis of satellite imagery, social media, and other open source information. And this is just one of the strikes and incidents we've been able to geolocate across Gaza. Sky News has found Nazi speeches and marching music have been used as background sound on tens of thousands of TikTok videos as far-right groups try and spread their message. Sky News has seen 72,000 posts used in this way. There's no evidence yet of foul play at Heathrow. It shows weaknesses that enemies could take advantage of. Elon Musk says it is, quote, a viper's nest of radical left Marxists who hate America. Supporters say it saves lives and projects American power and influence.
I think we would generally be called far right, sure.
It's called Return to the Land, and they invited me in.
A lot of people are going to be, why are you making Nazi references?
Right. Well, why wouldn't I?
Its founder says he is building a fortress for the white race.
It's a racial association. I kind of want to ask you, after seeing this, do you think what we're doing is immoral?
We followed a social media trail that led us to Bristol, where a confrontation between protesters erupted into a full-scale riot.
Here it really is pitched battle skirmishes, hurling missiles, throwing punches.
I'm Tom Cheshire, Sky's data and forensics correspondent.
Gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live. Joins us live all in one place and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
We are under Israeli military restrictions in terms of some of the things that we can film, but it's important to be in there. What a slow drive for the president as he approaches his golf club. 4 more years! Free wherever you get your news. I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, Leon Emirali and Christina Patterson. Let's take a look at the front page of The Times with this story regarding the BBC. The headline there, don't use licence fee cash to settle with Trump. BBC bosses are warned. I'm not sure it actually says who's warning them of this, but if they do settle with Trump, where else is the money going to come from? Christina.
Exactly. Well, this is Tony Hall, Lord Hall of Birkenhead, who apparently told Laura Kuenssberg in her Laura Kuenssberg programme that licence fee payers' money shouldn't be used to settle. I mean, I'd love to know what his solution is, you know, the magic money tree, because at the moment it's looking really grim for the BBC. I would be, I think most people in this country would be desperately upset for us to lose the BBC, which is what, you know, obviously I'm a massive fan of Sky News, but the BBC has been a major institution of this country. It's been a bastion of fair broadcasting. It's been a major symbol of our soft power globally. And for the most part, it gets things it pictures things pretty well. It has made some terrible mistakes in recent years, like the whole Jimmy Savile affair and so on. And this mistake in the Panorama, where two pieces of Trump's speech were spliced together in a misleading way, was a very serious mistake. But that is not something to destroy the BBC for. And it looks as if Trump has said this weekend that he might sue for $5 billion. You have to take these things seriously from Trump. If he goes to a court in Florida, if it does go to court, it might not, but if it does, we can't assume for a moment that a Florida jury would be looking at all the nuances and think, oh, you know what, on balance, I think we'll let the BBC get away with it. Absolutely not. And somebody might have to settle. Otherwise, this could rumble on for a really long time and produce huge instability. So I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I can't see who else is going to be paying.
Leon, can you see it going through the court process?
I don't know, is the honest answer. I think there's a chance of it, but you know, this is Trump's playbook, isn't it? He goes in big with a big figure and hopes that they'll settle out of court, as has been the case with other media outlets in the US. But yeah, Christina's right. I think if it did go to court in Florida, there'd be a good chance that it will not be in the BBC's favour. I think what needs to happen here is Keir Starmer needs to get on the phone and sort this out, because you know they seem to have a good relationship, the Prime Minister and the President, and this is ultimately going to come back and hit the taxpayer, the licence fee payer, in the pocket. There's no other way the BBC could pay for this, and even if it's not the settlement fee, I'm sure they've already racked up a pretty penny in legal fees just responding to the initial set to with Trump already. So it's going to be expensive whatever way you look at it, and I do think that Starmer has to get involved and try and use some of that soft capital that he's built up with Trump over the years to resolve this. I'm a big fan of the BBC as well. I think it does need reform. It needs to be unbundled. The licence fee needs reform and all the rest of it. But, you know, this could be a real reckoning for the BBC if it does get to court. And therefore, I think Starmer needs to do something that steps in to save them.
We read that President Trump is expecting to raise the issue with Sir Keir Starmer, but then we turn to the Mail, and more proof of left-wing bias at corporation, says the Mail headliner. And this is a speech by Dutch author Rutger Bregman, and he used the high-profile events to draw parallels between Trump's America and the rise of fascism in the 1930s. And that's not going to endear President Trump to the BBC anymore,
I mean, I have to say, I think the Mail and the Telegraph, between them, I've written to both papers, I think they seem to be both absolutely determined to get rid of the BBC. I think it's so unhelpful at this time of really delicate diplomacy. As you say, there is that call scheduled between Keir Starmer and Donald Trump, and we just have to hope. I don't think Starmer will persuade him to stop the case, but I hope he does. But I think it's just so unhelpful to build this stuff out. What happened to the First Amendment? The First Amendment is meant to be all about free speech, and the BBC is meant to be all about free speech. And you can invite a speaker who presents one point of view, and then you have a speaker the following year who might give something completely different. This is someone who writes about history, and actually there are many historians who've drawn parallels between Trump's America and the rise of fascism in the 1930s. There are lots of parallels. It's not an outrageous thing at all. And I don't think anyone would deny that the 1930s was a time of monsters. And that's what it's talking about, a time of monsters in the 30s. And apparently he mentioned Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk you know, his own AI bot, Grok, talked about his admiration for Hitler. So, I mean, Musk has certainly allied himself with the far right, and he actually made a gesture which, if it wasn't a Nazi salute, I don't know what is. So, I mean, I didn't hear the lecture, but again, what we seem to be talking about is it is not possible to criticise Trump. I mean, you know, basically Trump wants something that doesn't criticise him. That's not going to happen.
It's bonkers that the British media are coming under fire for criticism or perceived criticism of a foreign president.
We must leave it there, Leon and Christina. Thank you very much. We shall see you at the top of the 11.